Hi, this is Brian Kim. I'm going to share with you this patient who is referred for a possible corneal transplant surgery. The patient originally presented to a retinal specialist for a dislocated IOL, and then he placed an anterior chamber lens. The patient had persistent corneal edema, and that's why he was referred to me for potential corneal transplantation. Fortunately, the patient's edema resolved, but the patient continued to have pain syndrome as well as recurrent inflammation and pressure. And whenever the patient moved the eye, I could see the anterior chamber lens wobbling around. And so this patient clearly had an undersized anterior chamber lens. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of sizes to these lenses, and so therefore they're prone to these problems. And so you're going to see me take this lens out and then perform my Yamane technique. So you can see the lens is somewhat small in the eye. You can see the RK incisions on this patient. I like to mark the limbus with an ink pen whenever I have to do peritomy. This is a traction suture with a 4-0 silk. I'm turning the eye nasally, and then I'm performing a temporal peritomy. And then using some cautery. It's very difficult to make a scleral crescent when there's a lot of bleeding. I make a paracentesis on the left side, and as I'm pushing epinephrine, you can see the lens jiggle quite dramatically. This is some dispersive viscoelastic to fill the anterior chamber. And this is the crescent blade. I'm about 3 to 4 millimeters posterior to the limbus. You want to make a fairly good deep groove. And it's just like Goldilocks, not too deep but not too shallow. And then I'm using the wiggle maneuver with the crescent blade, which I learned from my M6 colleagues. You want to make the groove at least 6 millimeters wide to accommodate the anterior chamber lens. Whenever you're taking an anterior chamber lens out, you really need to use a scleral tunnel. You don't want to create a large corneal incision, which will induce a tremendous amount of corneal astigmatism. That's some dispersive viscoelastic to create a little bit of space. And then using a two-handed technique with microforceps, I try to rotate the lens, find the haptic, pop the haptic out through the temporal incision, through the scleral incision, grabbing, again, repositioning and re-grabbing the haptic, grabbing the optic and popping it out, and very gently getting the lens out. So that went pretty easily. Closing the scleral tunnel incision with a 10-0 nylon suture with a knot buried. Try to make this incision nice and snug. And then closing the peritomy with an 8-0 vicryl suture. And remember, the patient had some persistent corneal edema after their surgery, so that's another reason why you don't want to be messing with the cornea, and that's another reason why doing a scleral tunnel makes a lot of sense. So I take the traction suture out, and then I'm rotating myself in this microscope, so I'm going to be sitting supratemporal for the Yamane technique. These are the incisions for the iris hooks. This is the incision for externalizing the leading haptic through a contralateral limbal incision. And these are some additional incisions I'm going to make to help me with the surgical maneuvers, including my surgical PI. This is the triplanar corneal incision. I make a vertical groove, place the blade into the deep part of the groove tunnel, and then I enter. And again, this incision is between the RK marks, and this is the 3 millimeter blade. Using the tip of a 27 gauge cannula, which is inked, I ink on the right side and then the left side, making sure they are 180 degrees apart, and I'm using the shaft of the cannula to help me identify exactly 180 degrees apart. This is a fixed caliper from Epsilon. I'm indenting 2.5 millimeters from the limbal mark and indenting 2 millimeters adjacent, making sure it's completely dry with the Wexel sponge, and then inking the indentation. Doing the same thing on the left side, again, indenting 2.5 millimeters posterior to the limbus, and then 2 millimeters adjacent, and then marking those indentations with the 27 gauge cannula. So again, this patient has had vitrectomy already, so I'm not as worried about vitreous, so I don't have to put a trocar in. These are my 30 gauge thin walled needles. I like to bend the needle 9 millimeters from the tip for the right needle, and then bend the needle at the hub for the left needle. Remember, the bevels are going to face the approach of the haptic. And then that is a 25 gauge needle to externalize the leading haptic through the contralateral limbal incision. These are the iris hooks. Again, I use a lot of iris hooks, so these maneuvers are rather easy for me. You just place it through the incision, twirl it, hook it, and then cinch it down with the other forceps. This second incision is through the sclera, and so sometimes the conjunctiva will get snagged. But you can see, rather easy to do all these maneuvers. And because I can position the incisions the way I want to, I have much more flexibility and control. And again, I only need to retract it in the area where I'm going to be passing the haptics into the 30 gauge thin walled needles. That's the AC maintainer. And this is the cartridge for the AR40 lens, the emerald cartridge. I'm going to place the lens onto the platform, making sure the optic is seated down. Once it's seated down, I bring the wings together, making sure the lens optic bends backward. The trailing haptic goes out to the back, and the leading haptic goes straight to the barrel. Place the lens into the injector, making sure the trailing haptic's out of the way, and advance the lens. I'm doing a little bit of vitrectomy here just to be on the safe side. I thought I saw some fine wisps. So I'm doing some vitrectomy, again, in the area of action when I'm going to be passing the haptics into the needle. So using the help of an assistant, I have infusion on. She's advancing the lens. I rotate the needle so that the bevel faces the approach of the haptic. I dock the haptic on the bevel of the needle. You saw it slipped out, but that's fine. I'm able to reposition it again, making sure they're parallel. And as she advances the haptic, it pushes further into the needle. I withdraw the needle out, and now the haptic is out. I take over, deliver the optic, turn off infusion, pushing dispersive viscoelastic to deepen the chamber, and then making sure that the lens is in good position. I'm repositioning the AC maintainer so it's out of the way for my needle. So I turn on infusion, stab at the first mark through the conjunctiva and sclera, making sure I'm nice and parallel. I tunnel 2 millimeters, and then I dive down. Pulling the leading haptic out a little bit more and using the smooth micro forceps, I grasp the trailing haptic, slide it into the incision without crimping it or damaging it. 2 pushes, and then I'm in. So you just have to dock the haptic on the bevel of the needle and push it through. It's all about alignment and being nice and calm. And remember, this is really an issue of experience. If you struggle, it's just because you just haven't done enough. And having done this many, many times, really this part of the surgery is really not that frustrating or intimidating anymore. Disengage the needle from the syringe, placing the leading haptic into the angle. Rechecking with my fixed caliper that I'm 2.5 millimeters back. Holding the eye with forceps. Stabbing at the first mark through the conjunctiva and sclera. You see how I flatten it out, and as I flatten it out, I want to make sure I feel the resistance of the needle going through the sclera. 2 millimeters as I'm going through, and then I dive down. Very important that you tunnel through the sclera so that the haptic has adequate support, which will most mimic an in-the-bag IOL placement. Grasping the leading haptic with the smooth forceps, having my assistant irrigate the surface of the eye, because when you are doing these maneuvers, you can get some stria in the cornea, as you can see here. And that's because of the AC maintainer is creating some counter resistance. And so with that stria, it makes it a little bit more challenging. All it takes is patience. And of course, dealing with the leading haptic is so much easier because the action is away from you. You wouldn't be oar-locked like you would be if you're trying to do the trailing haptic second. So I pull the needles out partially on both sides and then pull the left side needle all the way out. And then I cauterize the tip. You can see the left side haptic is nice and flat, which means I have a nice scleral shelf. Pulling the right side needle out as well, limiting how much haptic comes out. Turning off infusion, cauterizing the tip, and there you have it. Flat haptics, nice scleral support on both sides. Nice haptics. I'm going to push and bury the haptic into the scleral tissue, reapproximate the conjunctiva. Fortunately, this lens is nice and well centered. Again, pushing the haptics flush to the sclera, reapproximating the conjunctiva. Infusion is on now, but I'm going to have to close the incision. But before I do that, I go ahead and take the iris hooks out. So it's a two-handed maneuver again. Grasp the plunger, hold the proximal hook, pull the plunger back, twirl the hook, disengage the pupil edge, and then pull it out. Super easy. Again, grab the plunger, grab the proximal hook, slide the plunger back, rotate, disengage from the pupil edge, and pull it out. Very easy, quick. Again, very helpful dealing with these cases. You wouldn't want to use a ring when you're dealing with this situation. So this patient fortunately did very well. There was absolutely no corneal edema at the end of the case. This patient's UGG syndrome issues resolved. That jiggling anterior chamber in the eye was clearly not something sustainable long term. So took the lens out through a scleral tunnel, which again, there's a lot of techniques involved in doing that. You have to stay nice and flat, but you want to make sure you get a deep tunnel. You don't want to puncture too prematurely because you can get iris prolapse, but you also don't want to have a very shallow scleral tunnel because it will not be stable. And so fortunately, the scleral tunnel went well. The anterior chamber lens came out nice and easily without any trouble. And then I performed my Yamane technique, again, externalizing the leading haptic through a contralateral limbal incision using a 25 gauge needle passive docking technique. You saw how I was able to execute my technique using my marks and then using the 30 gauge thin wall needles. Again, carefully docking the haptics on the needles and pulling them out. And fortunately, this patient did great. So I hope this was helpful to you, and I thank you for your attention.